Really quickly, in college, I was chasing baseball. I was chasing being an all Pac-12 second baseman. I was living in my dad's shadows. He played at USC. Mom was like, hey, get a degree. And dad was like, just go hit balls off the wall. Maybe some of you grew up in a similar family where I actually bought this lie that if I played well, somehow God loved me more. And if I didn't perform well or didn't get it done in the classroom, that perhaps God didn't like me as much. Now, what's crazy is I did not grow up in a faith-based home, did not go to church, baseball, basketball, soccer, every sporting event. The goal was to get on SportsCenter someday, either as a TV sportscaster or as a ball player. But I had this tension of like, well, if I just play better, somehow God loves me more. When you were in college, you were chasing kind of popularity, chasing some of the party scene a little bit, which is easy to do in college. How did kind of God grab you at the age of 18, 19?
Well, and I was chasing like achievement. I was raised in a home. It was basically like, what are you going to do? Who are you going to be? And so it was a lot of striving for achievements. It was in the classroom, but it was also like approval of people, trying to make friends and just fit in. And so basically God grabbed me when I met this guy, and he was like, hey, do you believe in Jesus? And I was like, yeah, I do, but I didn't really know.
And really, believing is a powerful thing. All of you here today are believers in something. You think about these things, you do these things. Belief is a powerful, powerful, motivating, inspiring thing. And just a quick little story. It's tricky when you're a parent because can you really talk about your kids when they go to school here? And so just a brief story here. Bennett is 4 or 5, and by the grace of God, we're lucky to vacation every summer in Santa Barbara, California. My sister lives there in the summer. And so Bennett is 4 or 5, but he has no concept of this thing called the Pacific Ocean current. Like the current wins. But 4 or 5-year-old dude goes out there and he gets in the Pacific Ocean and he loves it and he chills. And he's just catching a wave. He's got a little boogie board and we would just watch him. Now, you gotta understand, his grandma, my mom, is a professional Christian Jesus prayer warrior worrywart. Like, she's like, Brian, is he gonna drown? And I'm like, no, he's like 4, the water's up to here, the salt water's really good for him, but about every 10 minutes you would have to check on Benito Santiago, Bennett Beltramo, this fish, and he would just cruise. He'd just catch a wave, and he had no bearing, he had no idea what he was believing in or what. He's 4 or 5 years old, he's just chilling. And about every 5 or 10 minutes, we'd have to go a nice little walk. Like, hey, bro, come back to some kind of starting point. Here's my question for you. What current of life are you currently in and you have no concept where it's taking you? Because the current is real. The media is real. And I don't know if what you and I are looking at, if it's saying you're wonderfully and fearfully made. All of your days are ordained before one of them came to be. Man, you are an absolute beautiful daughter of the King. Like, I don't know if you've heard that, know that, but what you're believing actually matters. And as a 4 or 5-year-old, it's cute. He didn't drown, he's here today, but the Pacific Ocean current is real. If we don't get that dude that day, he's somewhere in Johannesburg, South Africa right now. Like he's somewhere getting tossed and turned by the waves. And so what path are you on? This idea that Matthew says, man, wide is the gate that leads to destruction and many enter it, but narrow is the gate that leads to life. Is the current path you on, is it leading you where you want to go? Or honestly, it's like, well, I'm in college, I can do whatever I want to do. What is it that you believe right now? Cheri, how about you?
Yeah, I did marketing for a while. That was my major in college, and I worked for the Phoenix Suns, and it was a great job, but it's also very eye-opening to see that we are being marketed to every day by the world, by the culture, and even God has a marketing plan for our life, but so does the enemy. And it's interesting, there's a C.S. Lewis quote that talks about from back in 1939. I mean, we're talking nearly 100 years ago. And it said, like, if I could just keep people busy, this is like the perspective of Satan. If I could just keep people busy enough to silence the voice of their God that they wouldn't hear. And I think every one of us can agree that from social media to just TV and all the advertisements that come bombarded, we're being sent messages that aren't like, you're an individual who has gifts and talents that you can bring to this world, and that God has specifically designed a purpose for you to contribute. You are no accident.
I have the pleasure of working with professional athletes and college athletes and young people who are looking for this identity and purpose. And it's always interesting to me that I've got some pro baseball players, and they're like, hey, I make about $7 million a year, and you can Google my salary, and you can look at my pictures of my family and my Escalade with spinners, and I'm really lonely, and I need Jesus, and can you help me? And I was like you got 7 million sheets. Like you have a gig that everyone wants, and it's crazy is that no matter what this world's offer you, there's a lie there. And so again, I get back to this first idea of what are you believing? And I think for this young man I was working with, he's like, man, I am a baseball player. I am a professional millionaire. And I was like, man, I think you're more than that. I think you are a child of God, and you have value beyond how you pitch today. And if sports talk radio or social media is kind to you or absolutely flame torches you, you're like, well, guess what? I go to San Diego Christian. I'm not making 7 million sheets. I don't have that kind of paper or glue or Skrilla. And so what do you got for me today? What do you got for me today? Jesus speaker, free chapel guy. Okay, so getting back to this idea of no matter what it is in life that we're putting our hand and our attention to, I'm asking, what are you doing to allow God into that space? Because you might not know this, you might not believe it, or maybe you've heard it too long. Jesus Christ of Nazareth is radically pursuing you. He is madly in love with who you're going to be and who you are now. And what happens is oftentimes we're like, well, I'm not good enough. I don't know if he's really going to believe this. Like this isn't my best. And I've never, ever heard Jesus talk about you in this book of the Bible and say, you don't measure up. If anything, Jesus is saying, man, I do not make junk, and you are my guy, and you are my gal, and let's go places together. He's radically pursuing you. His love is extravagant. The last song that you and I sing about oceans, I cannot look at the Pacific Ocean or any body of water and not think about how wide and how high and how deep and how far is the love of Jesus Christ. I told a San Diego Christian baseball player last weekend, we watched the team in Westmont. They got on the vans, they came back to campus. I hugged one of my players that I've coached since he was 10 years old, Brock Arnold, BA. I said, Brock Arnold, when you get in that van and go back to campus, I want you to look at the right. He's like, what do you got on the right, coach? I go, Brock, the whole van way home, the ocean's going to be on your right. And I go, I want you just to think about how big God's love is for you. How high, how far, how wide, how deep. And by the way, Brock, man, that ocean's floor as well. Man, your and I mistakes, your and I sins, they're on the ocean floor. Brock, there's nothing you can do right now to gain God's love more. There's nothing you can do to lose it. And he goes, you know what, Coach B? I'm on it. I'm looking at the ocean on the way back. Now, he probably fell asleep and had his playlist on, but I wanted him just to look and be like, man, that ocean, God's creation of that is how much he loves me. Cheri, how much does God love you? Because you believed a lie when you were growing up, so much so it affected your life and who you are today.
Yeah. I believed the lie of just an identity that was placed over me, which was my mom, who was not a role model in my life, emotionally, mentally, physically abusive. I could not wait to get out of my home. And I started believing the lie of like, I need to be somebody and there's no way I can be a mom. And God, after he grabbed my heart, just started speaking like, no, you're going to be a mom. I want you to be a mom. And that thought, honestly, terrified me. The thought of like doing something that was out of my comfort zone, and it may sound really basic, but like my past was so flawed, and the thoughts that I had been told and fed and spoken over, I just didn't feel like I could do that. But I was at a place where the voice of God was speaking so loudly, and I finally was like, I think I'm supposed to be a mom. And that was a hard place of surrender. And when I got pregnant, when Bennett was about to be born, I was so scared, like gripped with fear as far as the enemy bringing up everything from my past of, you can't be a good mom, you can't do this, you weren't made for this. And thankfully I was being in a place, and Pastor Lou talking about community, like who you surround yourself with, the voices you're hearing. I was reading my word of God. I had a godly husband speaking over me. I had friends, and just to think like, I can do this. I don't have to walk in that identity that I was raised in. I don't have to walk into that identity that I hear, but I can make a choice to tune out those voices and accept what God has said. And a living testimony to me of like walking in faith and believing who God says you are is our son Bennett. Like, he is a constant reminder of what, man, stepping through fear and walking with the Lord, and that you get a son like Bennett Beltramo is amazing. So thanks.
Here's the cool thing too. Cheri's fear is real. I'm like, we're pregnant. We're having a dude. Like, we're going to go get this dude some fresh Jordans. Like, we're going to gear this cat out. Like, this kid's going to be a straight baller and a shot caller. And she's just like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to be a good mom. I was like, what are you talking about? But this book says a lot about fear, that you and I can come to Jesus. Isaiah 41:10 says this. It says, do not fear, for I am with you. Don't anxiously look about you, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will uphold you. Here's my favorite part of that verse. With my victorious right hand. Like, King Jesus is ruling and reigning. He wants you to be all in for him so that you can achieve victory because of what he did and not you and I did. And then one of my most favorite verses ever, I prayed this like crazy whenever she was in the delivery room, and I would, just go out and say hi to the family, and I'd come back in, what do you need, babe, or whatever. I mean, going to the vending machine for the last time to get that Snickers and Reese's, that's an important thing for Papa B to get before I go in there and see what's going on with this baby boy or this girl coming out the second time around. So literally, I'm praying this verse, Zephaniah 3:17. If there's only thing from the sound of my voice you and I hear today, I pray you remember Zephaniah 3:17. The Lord your God is with you. He's mighty to save. He will take great delight in you. If you have anxiety, if you struggle with depression, if you struggle with loneliness, this verse is for you. Zephaniah 3:17 goes on to say, he's mighty to save. It says he will take great delight in you. He will quiet you with his love. In this picture of God having a playlist over your life. He literally says, I rejoice over you with singing. When you go to bed tonight, it doesn't matter how far or close you're feeling towards Jesus Christ. When you go to bed tonight, put your head in a pillow. He is literally singing a praise song, rejoicing over you because he created you. Anything you got, babe? And I got one last story to share with the kids.
Yeah, no, just a couple of things. Brian started with the current of like it taking you somewhere. And I would just say, like, ask yourself, like, where am I going on the trajectory that I'm headed right now? Like, I could have been going on a career path. Like, that's where I felt like it had been, spoken into me, raised up. So, like, you might be headed somewhere and say, like, this isn't exactly where I want to be going. And I would say, just like that current, like, Brian at any point in time when 3-4-year-old Bennett is floating in the current could have gone in and grabbed him and rescued him. And God is able to do that no matter your past. He does not care. Like, he's ready to come in and rescue and grab. All you have to do is call on the name of the Lord.
Yes, you do. Last thought is this, and we're done. I've heard this story recently, and anytime you tell a story, it could go over well or not. But I'm gonna encourage you to get locked in for these next 3 or 4 minutes, and that's it. I need all eyes and all ears right here. I'm a baseball coach at heart, so home plate, center of the field, pitcher's mound, and the rubber is 60 foot 6 inches. Any baseball field you go to, first base dugout, third base dugout. The first base dugout for the story is an image of heaven. The first base dugout is the story of King Jesus, God the Father, the Holy Spirit, the Trinity, like Christ followers, people who've put their trust, their faith, their hope in the first base dugout. And how God talks is usually through his word. God's not talking through a megaphone. God doesn't need a commercial on a billboard. God's like, I love you, I'm crazy. He whispers. And then here's what God does a lot. So I want your eyes and ears. God's like, hey, just come. God's like, hey, come here. Hey, come here. I love you. And then over in the third base dugout is going to represent, for this story, the enemy, Satan, demons, like the devil, right? And then hell is over there. And you're like, well, I ain't going over there. Like, I'm not going to pick that. And here's what the devil does. He's actually yelling. He's like, hey, check this out. So God's over here just like, hey, come over here. Just come on. I got a plan for you. First base dugout, heaven, and just go over here. And then third base dugout, like and in the third base dugout, it looks really, really fun. Because you know why? Because sin is fun. If you're not having fun when you're sinning, you're not doing it right. Sin is a blast. But much like that current, it's going to leave shrapnel. And all of a sudden, like the game is over, the story comes to an end, and home plate is this middle, and all of a sudden, all the people in the first base dugout, like they go home. And it looks pretty familiar. It looks like there's family. It looks like there's crazy love, and they bounce. And then God's kind of looking at you, and here's where you're at, potentially today. I know I was when I was 18 as a freshman in college. You're straddling the fence, and you have 1 foot in the first base box, and you have 1 foot in the third base box, and here's home plate, and all of a sudden the devil's like, okay, time's up, and they go, and you're like, whew. I made it. I am totally chill right here as a college cat playing the game, playing the field, like we're good. And all of a sudden Satan comes back. He goes, oh, I forgot one. I left one. And you're like, well, he ain't talking about me. And Satan goes, hey, come here. And you're like, no, I'm not picking you. There's no chance I'm picking you. But I'm not really ready to pick Jesus yet. And this is the last 10 seconds of the story. And it broke my heart when I heard this, and I wanted you to hear this today. Satan goes, no, so you don't understand. I own the fence. The fence is mine. If you're on the fence, I'm going to encourage you to go to your right with King Jesus, because today is the day of salvation. Mr. Lou, coming up, sir. Thanks for having us, guys. God bless you.
Thank you so much for that. And the communication students actually wanted chapel to end a little different today. We're not going to dismiss you guys quite yet. If you guys notice, we still have about 10 minutes. Later on, we're actually going to have you guys break up into groups, and we're going to take a moment to pray with each other. We really do believe that one of the most important things about revival and God really working in our hearts, kind of even what the Beltramos just shared, is to do it in groups. But before we do that, we actually have a big announcement from our chair of our board and our president. So I'm going to please welcome Pastor Jeremy real quick.
Well, good to be with you guys again. And there's a lot that has taken place over this last year. And I get to come and tell you about the next steps of San Diego Christian College. I'm fired up. I'm excited. Our board of trustees has, over this last year, been meeting and processing, trying to figure out how we truly can become the premier Christian college in California. We're not there yet, but we need to get together and we have to make some plans. And we have to figure out, what does it look like to become the premier Christian college in California? And so we've been planning, we've been putting stuff together, and over this last year, you guys have dealt with a lot in terms of transition and change, and the Board of Trustees appreciates that flexibility. And we appreciate Faith Chapel. Faith Chapel took us in during this time of transition as we were trying to figure out our next steps as a college. And man, we're grateful for Faith Chapel opening their doors for a season and allowing us to retool and revamp. So I'm excited to tell you, the Board of Trustees, as we've prayed through this, we will be moving. We'll be moving from Faith Chapel for next semester in the fall. We'll be, for some of you know, the Santee location. We'll be back in Santee. So that's where we're headed. We're going back. You can clap for that. Absolutely, yeah. So heading back there. And with that, let me just tell you this. We have some unbelievable partners that are coming on board, not just on the board, which we have added some incredible partners on the board, but that have come around us as a college and said, San Diego Christian is too important to San Diego to flounder. We want to see it not just survive, we want to see it thrive. And over these next several months, you're going to get to know some of them. And I'm telling you, I am so fired up for the future of our college. This is an exciting time. And so, hey, be praying as we continue moving forward and looking forward. It's still going to be a time of transition and change, right? There's going to be some things that we're figuring out that are going to be different. But as we go forward, we truly are going to become the premier Christian college in California. And the people I'm bringing on the team for this, we all have this belief, we all have this passion, and we're not going to rest until that is an absolute fact. And so we're excited about that. Appreciate your guys' flexibility. And with this transition comes other transitions. And so we have a video from our president, Dr. Corsini, where he would like to make an announcement as well. So take a look at the screen.
Hey guys, this is Dr. Kevin Corsini. I am the president here at San Diego Christian College. Some of you might not know it, but I actually signed my contract to be the president here back in 2019. And my contract was written to run all the way through the spring of 2023. And so we're here at the end of my initial contract. So as we look ahead, there's some questions. Okay, what happens next? Is my contract going to be renewed? Am I going to continue? Well, in the last couple of years, I have faced more and more challenges at home with my family. When I started back in 2019, had 3 older kids, right on the doorstep of being an empty nester. And over the last couple of years, we've had 2 more babies, which was absolute shock, right? Shock to us. It's been a huge blessing. But our youngest, Elisha, has had a number of health problems. We spent almost a month in the hospital since last summer. It's had a number of complications. Some of you will recall last summer, I stepped out of the president role into the chancellor role so I could give more time to my family. Just some challenges going on at home where I needed to give more time and attention there. This past fall in October, I was asked by the board to step back in. I did. Had a great plan in place for me to be on campus again, spend more time, and then we ended up back in the hospital. And we're in the hospital with Elisha. He had pneumonia in his lungs. He had RSV, was on a respirator, ended up getting coronavirus on top of that. It's been quite a roller coaster. All that to say is we've had a number of health challenges and issues with our family that's just required more and more of my attention. January of this year, I realized, man, the contract's coming up and we're still facing just more and more needs at home. And there's just something powerful when your kids come to you and say, Dad, we need you here. Like, we need more time with you. So I told the board that would not be seeking to renew my contract, not because I'm not excited about what's going on at the college, not because I'm concerned about what's going on at the college, and not because I got another job lined up or something awesome that I'm going to do next. It's really, I'm just at a spot where I need to choose my family, and my family needs more time right now. And so I'll be a part of the San Diego Christian College family as president through the end of this academic year. But I've notified the board of trustees, go ahead and start looking for the next president. I will always be a Hawk. This will always be you guys will always be family, and I will always love you guys. And I appreciate you guys so much. Just at one of those forks in the road where it's time for me to give a lot more time to my family. And this is as a side note, I would say this, back in my 30s, I'm in my 50s now, but back in my 30s, 20 years ago, I was in full-time ministry. I didn't always choose my family. I mean, the truth is, I can look back on my own life, and there were a lot of times when I chose ministry over family, where I was at events with church or ministry, and I missed birthday parties. I missed soccer tournaments. There was one year, because I was out doing ministry for the Lord, I missed the city championship game for football that my son played in. And in hindsight, those were mistakes. I mean, I regret that. I really should have chose my family instead of putting ministry first. And now here being a little older, a little wiser, I realize, you know what? I might not know what's next, but I know my family is important. And so just know that this decision really is out of heart full of serving my wife and my kids, all 5 of them now. Not because I have any concerns or misgivings about the college. If anything, like I said, I'm really excited about the future for this college. I'm a little jealous I don't get to be in it for a longer ride with you guys. But I love you. I care about you. The Board of Trustees has a great plan in place to identify the next president. And I'm excited to be on campus here in the next couple of weeks to get more time with each one of you. Love you guys. I appreciate you. We trust the Lord. He's got great plans for us as we look ahead to the future.
So the search has already begun, and we are excited for this next chapter. And I will be here representing the Board of Trustees. I'll hang out in the lobby afterwards. If you have questions at all, I'll be glad to answer those. And as far as it goes, we're going to finish out the academic year here, and then we're already in process of moving as it is now. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to John, and we'll continue. Thank you, guys.
Well, thank you so much for that, Pastor Jeremy. Like I said, guys, we really wanted to just take back. So, Michael, if you can start playing the music, and comm students, go ahead and separate. Just to give the vision again, normally when we leave chapel, I know everyone kind of just like, okay, we did that, we checked that off. Guys, one of the biggest things I'll tell you is, everything you hear sometimes in a chapel can really change your life. And if you have an opportunity to sometimes share that, vocalize that, pray for each other, hold each other accountable. That's how community is really built. And so I really want to encourage you guys to use this time, if anything, just to pray for each other, pray for the school, maybe pray for like your future. So we're going to do this a little different. All right, my comm students, girls are going to be on the right side. Guys are going to be on the left side over here. And so go ahead, let go. So the girls over there, guys over here. And what we want is that if you're a girl, go over to the right side, and we're going to have little huddles over there. And if you're a guy, go on the left side over here. And you're going to be getting just some groups, pray. Remember, Pastor Jeremy, after you finish praying, is available for questions. If you guys have any questions. And also, I believe our VP of Operations, Brian, is also available if you have questions about that. So join us over here, guys, on the left side, girls on the right side. Thank you.